So if I think of life before my accident, everything revolved around, being in the outdoors, being in nature, and spending as much time as possible with my friends. Specifically, just having fun. I grew up in a very close-knit family, very involved in each other's lives. My dad, he probably didn't miss one rugby game that I played. I remember my cousins was basically my friend group growing up, and then they would come down and visit, and that was then obviously huge activities, in the water and surfing and snorkeling and on the beach with the dogs and everything. But I only learned the value of family when tragedy, really happened in my life. Sport was a big thing for me, and I think what I enjoyed most about it is the community. Rugby was obviously the most favorite sport that I love to practice. I think it's because of the physicality of it. I really enjoyed it, action-packed, a lot of running. The opportunity that I got was to go after school and play for the Sharks under 19. After Durban, then I went to Marties, and I think it took on a whole new life where I studied, but I also was able to play sport. And I've got a huge fascination for mountains. So hiking became almost like an every week thing that we did. So the year that my accident happened, it was the first year that I was working. I just finished my studies. I had 2 shoulder operations, quite serious, and it really affected my rugby, and I decided, okay, I think I'm now finished with rugby. I'm just going to focus on my career, focus on, where I'm going in life. It was the first weekend that I was taking leave from work. It was on a Friday the 13th of December, 2014. So I went home, just packed my bags. You're still excited for the holidays just beginning. It's literally the first day of holiday. As I was driving there, I didn't put on my safety belt because my arm was in a sling and it was pressing on this freshly operated shoulder. And it's because of the road that I've driven so many times. It's like, you're thinking in your mind, I'm just going quickly. I'm going to be there shortly. I know the road. I wasn't even driving fast. I was driving about 70 or 80 k's an hour. It was about, I think, a few hundred meters from the place where I was supposed to turn off. And I remember just looking at the radio for a split second. I literally just wanted to change the song. And in that moment, I just didn't pay attention, and the front wheel of the car caught the gravel along the side of the road. Hearing that sound of the wheels going over the gravel, and I got a bit of a fright, and I just plucked the steering wheel. I saw the car was going off the side of the road, heading in that direction. No matter what I do, the steering wheel, it's like it just doesn't work at that stage. You can, press on the brake or anything, just nothing works. That's when the car started rolling. And I just remember looking at the passenger window and heading towards it. The screeching of the tires just went completely silent. It's such a vivid memory of, going through that window and then everything just going black from there. And the next moment, I just wake up next to the side of the road, feeling the car on my backside, and then a man standing over me. His name is Hosea, telling me just to lay still. You hurt your back really badly. And the first thought that went through my mind is, how does he know that? How did he know that I hurt my back and my neck? When they started moving me from that place, started picking me up, that's when the pain kicked in. It's the worst pain that I've ever felt in my entire life. Because now I've got a spinal cord injury. I broke my back on my T8 vertebra, but to the point where it completely shattered. I remember coming into the hospital and waking up the next day only. It was the most bizarre thing looking at my legs, seeing them under a blanket, but I couldn't feel them. I think my dad asked the question to the doctor first, that is my son able to walk again? And that's when he started explaining that the operation is not to make me walk again. It's not like someone comes and sit and they tell you, word for word what's going to happen. You just start figuring it out almost in this period, and it's the most odd thing. Everyone tiptoes around it, that look, you are paralyzed now, this is what's going to happen. And I think that's what makes it more difficult to deal with, because it feels like you're in a bad dream and you're just going to wake up and everything's going to be fine after that. But that also just doesn't happen. So I was in hospital for 3 months, coming to terms with what happened, probably about 4 or 5 years to really, making that decision that the responsibility is now yours. That what you do with your life now afterwards lies in your hands. Now remember, I'm a 24-year-old man at that stage, independent, rugby player, loving the outdoors. And now you have to go back to the basics, where someone has to help you feed yourself, dress yourself, go to the bathroom. That takes a massive mental knock on you. Massive. And not just on a mental knock, but your whole identity is, completely destroyed at that stage. I think it's my competitiveness that really played a big role, that really saved me from myself, saved me from remaining in that spot. I even made a deal with the therapist, and I asked them, I think it was after 10 weeks, I said, listen, what do I have to do to be able to go home? And then they said, okay, if you can get up from the floor into your wheelchair on your own, then we'll be satisfied, because everything else was then, I was able to do that after a while. For the first, few years, I was on a product that was reusable. Now, this had many complications, health concerns. If being in a wheelchair isn't difficult enough, imagine getting sick just from something, is so natural that because you reuse this catheter, it actually makes you sick. You get infections a lot easier. And it came to a point where every few months I would get a bladder infection. So here you are, you're building up your strength, you're getting, learning to cope with this whole injury and everything. Just as your rehabilitation is really getting to a point where you're growing in this, you would get a bladder infection and then you're in bed for the next 2 weeks. The type of product that you use plays a major role in not just your physical development, but also mentally, and that can be very discouraging. You're just trying to get back to life, get on with it, have a normal, healthy, active life, but you get sick every now and again. I always say, I can do many things. I'm not shy to ask for help, but there are certain things that it's impossible for me to do. And that was also something that early on I had to make peace with that. Not being shy to ask for help, and not trying to be so independent and stubborn that thinking that you can do everything by yourself. Luckily, I think I realized that fairly soon after my accident.